Welcome everybody to the first episode of round 3 for the Yu-Gi-Oh! Generation X tournament here on the HomeBoiz channel. We're going to see Chancellor Sheppard facing off against Chumley Huffington here. So since you guys have already seen all of these decks twice now, I'm just going to go ahead and give my opinion on what I think the deck can do against their opponents. Also, I'd like to make a note right here and now that sometime in the future rounds, I haven't decided which one yet, I think I'm going to go ahead and make adjustments to these decks, since a lot of these legacy decks end up getting support in the middle of me creating these videos. So I'm going to go ahead and try to ramp up some of these probably in the last 1 or 2 rounds. But looking at Chancellor Sheppard, I think since Chumley is a very offensive, straightforward beatdown beast deck, I think the 2 problems that he has for Chumley are the Cyber Shadow Gardener to really wall it out and stall it, because off the top of my head, Chumley doesn't really run anything that can remove cards from the field, so he has no way of really getting over the Gardener. Secondly, I would assume that Scrap Fusion would be his other big problem, especially with how many cards either just get destroyed period, or cards that get thrown away, and even more so if something like Morphing Jar were to actually get off its effect. I think Scrap Fusion would really fuck over Chumley there. Nothing in the side deck I think would really do much to him, so it kind of depends on that. But since Chumley does run so many easy to run over monsters with very, very low stats, I think that Chancellor Sheppard has his first opportunity to gain a genuine lead early on in the duel. But let's take a look at his opponents. So Chumley here has issues with field removal. As I'm taking a look at it, he has no way of getting rid of cards unless he manages to get 2 level 4s out. But that's going to be tough because I believe it's only going to be Kangaroo Champ and Desk Kangaroo that he can go ahead and overlay with. He has more level 4s in the side deck, but still, there's just so many level 3s. I see it being really, really difficult, and even then, it would rely on him having another beast that he could kill unless he just blows up the Xyz itself. So there's going to be that issue. But with some of the spell card support that he has, and with the ability to thin his deck to get to these said support cards quicker, I think things like Wild Nature's Release, Big March of Animals, especially Ayers Rock Sunrise, I think all of these factors are going to combine to allow Chumley to very easily overpower Chancellor, especially if he ends up with an unbalanced hand in terms of he can't consistently get monsters out. That's one issue that this deck will never have, is it will always be able to summon something in terms of this tournament format. But without further ado, let the duel begin. With Chumley and Sheppard's duel beginning, Chumley is going to be taking the first lead, accomplishing not very much because he is a very defensive deck. Meanwhile, Chancellor Sheppard here is opening up with Cyber Esper, so with it in attack mode, he can see every card that Chumley draws, and as he's running into the much stronger 1800 defense Desk Koala, he would have died here, but he's going to sack off Esper with limited removal in order to double its attack for this battle, and he still takes 1600 due to the ability of Desk Koala, so it ends up being Chumley who deals the first blow. In addition to this, while Esper's going to die at the end of this turn, Animal Trail is going to give Chumley a new monster to his hand, so he's going to have a little bit of recovery there. Chancellor's going to go ahead and end with 2 face-down cards. Now we're going to see the Hyena hit the field very unimpressively, and before it could even manage to poke for 1,000, we're going to see the Cyber Shadow Gardener. So let's see if my prediction was correct, and let's see its ability to wall Chumley out of the rest of this duel. Fusion Conscription is going to activate, revealing the Cyber Ogre 2 in order to add a fusion material, Cyber Ogre, to their hand, but they cannot summon it or, I believe, use its abilities. We're going to see Call of the Haunted be activated in order to revive Cyber Esper to Sheppard's side of the field, and it's going to run over the Hyena itself because he cannot tribute summon anything currently. It's going to summon 2 more Hyenas straight out of the deck before starting Chumley's turn. Obviously Sheppard's going to be able to see that diffusion there, and we're going to see Desk Kangaroo hit the field, not the big koala here, so maybe being wary of whatever that face down, oh, it's the Cyber Shadow Gardener, my mistake. So yeah, Desk Kangaroo is going to be hitting the field first. I still maybe would have tributed them just to get more damage off with the big koala, but I don't know, we're going to go ahead and trust his I guess, thought process here. Not much on Sheppard's side. We're going to see Momonga hit the field, but again, that Shadow Gardener is keeping him alive enough to stack his deck, or stack his hand, excuse me. And Nimble Momonga here, a second copy hitting the field. It's really, really unfortunate to draw into one of your additional copies. Dust Tornado getting rid of Chumley's only face down. So even though it doesn't look like it, Sheppard has an amazing lead here, especially now that we know that without 2 level 4s, you know, which he only has 1 on his side, Chumley has no way of getting past a single trap card. And there goes Proto Cyber, which is stronger than the majority of Chumley's fields, very laughably so. Now we're going to see the Death Kangaroo and the Hyena get sacrificed for the Big Koala once and for all. Finally, it's going to be running over the Proto Cyber, I would imagine, for 1600. But before that, it looks like he's going to actually crash his Nimble Momonga, because for a small price of 100 points of damage, he not only gets the 3rd one out, but he gets an extra 1000 points of life. So that's a very interesting strategy. Now he's above 8,000 points. Sheppard can only hide behind another monster, and we're going to see Chumley hiding as well. He's not even going to attempt to attack the face down. So very fascinating stuff there. We're going to see Instant Fusion get activated for 1,000 points of life here. So while Chumley is sitting above 8,000, Chancellor is officially below the halfway point now. And Panzer Dragon hits the board. At the end of the turn, when it gets destroyed by the effect of Instant Fusion, Panzer Dragon's going to blow up any card on Chumley's side of the field, so it's probably going to be bye-bye for the Big Koala. We're going to see the Nimble Momonga go down, both of them actually, so that is another 2,000 points towards Chumley's life counter. However, the Big Koala has gone down with the Panzer Dragon, and we see the Cyber Esper here. Unfortunate that Sheppard didn't have the life points for Cyberstein, you know, since that's a thing that almost never happens. It would have been really interesting to see it go down, but you know, nevertheless, let the duel go on. We're gonna see the Bubonic Vermin actually get flipped here. Even though it's gonna you know, expose Chumley to some extra damage, he will get an extra body on the field and get to run over the Cyberstein at the same time. So, you know, very cool right there. You can't really complain about that kind of a move. And now we're finally seeing the Cyber Ogre hit the field with 1900 running over the Vermin. And so Chumley's going to be in quite a pickle here. He has nothing that he can really counter with, or at least nothing that he's choosing to counter with. And now we're also going to see the Earth Hex Sealed Fusion here. So before using its ability to fuse with Cyber Ogre on the field, it's going to go ahead and actually enter combat first, since we know that that face down there was the Vermin. Now in main phase 2, we see the Cyber Ogre 2 finally on the board, even though we've been seeing it coming for quite some time now. But now, with no other options left, Chumley finally uses the Ayers Rock Sunrise that's been hanging out in his hand, throwing away his entire hand to summon back the Big Koala and reduce the attack points of Cyber Ogre 2. And he's also going to activate Wild Nature's Release in order to add Big Koala's defense points to its attack points for 4,700 damage, and Chumley takes the first round. And here we are back at it again with these two, with Chancellor Sheppard going first this time, setting only a single face down before passing turn without a monster. Meanwhile, Chumley's not only going to get Polymerization off of the Fusion Stage, but he opens up with Desmanian Devil, a 1700 attack level 4 monster, which is going to be a really good monster for him to draw into. And it turns out that Sheppard's face down was Urgent Schedule, which can only be activated when the opponent has more monsters than he does, so it'll summon Oil Man and Cyber Ogre in defense mode straight out of his deck with no effect. The downside here is that Cyber Ogre has a measly 1200 defense points, which is really easily overpowered by the Desmanian Devil. The one good side though is Cyber Ogre doesn't have an effect when it's on the field anyways, so it's a very efficient spell card to use. Right there, Cyber Ogre dies, and since Desmanian Devil killed a monster, it can get a beast that's level 4 or lower straight out of the deck to the hand. Chumley chose the Death Kangaroo before passing turn. Here, with the Oil Man as a sacrifice, we're going to see a second Cyber Ogre hit the field, this time being Tribute Summoned and running over the Desmanian Devil before ending turn with no face down. So Sheppard having some very lackluster fields here. Huffington also has no response to anything because this is a big 1900 and his deck doesn't run over this well without key spell cards or without Big Koala. Now Sheppard's putting it all down on the field with 3 sets, one of them being a monster, and Ogre runs over the Eucalyptus Mole, who can summon a Koala straight out of the deck regardless of level. So now we have the 2,700 Big Koala, Chumley's signature monster. Now, we're going to see the polymerization that he fetched earlier in order to turn the Big Koala into the Master of Oz was 4,200, and Sheppard has no response to that, so Cyber Ogre goes down and he takes big damage. But Huffington also has the Defusion spell card in order to split it up, sending it back to the extra deck and bringing out Death Kangaroo and Big Koala in attack mode for 2 more assaults. But the face down monster was actually Cyber Jar. Now, if you're not familiar, Cyber Jar destroys all monsters on both players' fields when it gets flipped up, and both players get to look at their top 5 cards and reveal them, summon any level 4 or lower monsters, and keep the remainder of those 5 cards. So both players are getting a massive field and or hand advantage here with this play, while Sheppard is simultaneously getting rid of Chumley's threats on the field at least. And it looks like he went into the Death Kangaroo and the Hyena. I did believe I see another Big Koala in that pile as well. And we see some good cards on Sheppard's side as well. He ends up going into the Cyber Phoenix, so thankfully he can play that in defense mode with 1,600 to stall out the 2 monsters that Chumley has on his side of the field. And he's not done gaining advantage because now he's going to activate the Graceful Charity, allowing him to draw 3 cards and discard 2. And it looks like he chose to throw away Big Koala and the Animal Trail Trap card, a very good trap, so you know he has something better going on in his hand right now. He's going to go ahead and set a monster in past turn, knowing that he wasn't able to destroy the face down Phoenix. Sheppard is going to, on the other hand, use Fusion Conscription to gain just a tiny bit of more advantage to his side as well, revealing a fusion monster in his extra deck and adding one of the fusion materials at the cost that he cannot summon in this turn. He's going to grab Cyber Ogre back from his graveyard, so now he has 2 in hand. Then he's going to activate the Monster Reborn spell card. And there are a lot of good targets that he could go for in both players' graveyard. Let's see what he chooses. Looks like he goes for the Big Koala. That's right, Master of Oz is in the extra deck here. So Big Koala is going to hit Sheppard's side of the field now. And I don't know how Chumley's going to really deal with that because he doesn't have anything greater than it other than the Master of Oz. Cyber Phoenix over here is going to run over the Hyena, triggering its effect, no doubt, putting more on the field. More importantly, with Cyber Phoenix in attack mode, Sheppard's machine monsters are going to be protected from certain targeting spells and trap cards. Huffington's going to set a card face down before flipping over this super nimble Mega Hamster, and when it gets flip summoned, he can set a monster face down, so he chooses the level 3 Sea Koala and summons another Sea Koala straight out of his hand. With Sea Koala, he can change the attack points of a monster on the field down to 0 as long as he has another face-up beast, so Big Koala goes all the way down to 0, and Sheppard takes the 1,100 from the Nimble Hamster. Big Koala is down once again. Back to Sheppard's turn, though. He not only has the Cyber Phoenix, but the Cyber Esper, 2 parallels, if you will. So now, not only does he have semi-protection, but he has the psychic ability of looking at Chumley's cards every time he draws one. He's going to run over that Sea Otter, both of them actually, or attempts to. Unfortunately, that second Sea Otter not only gets to live, but Sheppard got to take some damage from that as well, seeing as it has 1,600. Very unfortunate that he wasn't able to get rid of both of them because that Sea Koala will definitely bite him in the ass sooner or later. And here it goes. It's going to activate its effect to drop Cyber Phoenix. Phoenix only protects machines from spells and traps, so this is going to go through no problem. And now we're going to see the Hyenas get sacrificed for another Big Koala. But Sheppard got the bottomless trap hole off of that Cyber Jar. I don't know if Chumley forgot that or if he wanted to play into it to clear the... Yeah, okay. So it looks like Chumley actually wanted to clear the way for the second Big Koala he's summoning off of Ayer's Rock Sunrise at the cost of his entire hand. And now for every beast in his graveyard, Sheppard's monsters will lose 200 attack points. But first, we're going to see limiter removal activate here, and I guess that's to reduce how much damage he's going to potentially take, because I don't see it making that much of a difference. I don't know if it's going to protect him enough to prevent him from losing the duel, so we're going to see. And yes, okay, so Cyber Esper will now have 200 points. Unfortunately for him, Chumley has a counter to his counter, which is Horn of the Phantom Beast, which is going to give a beast monster 800 attack and the ability to give Chumley an extra card every time it destroys something. Or if it gets destroyed, I'm honestly not even reading what I'm doing here. Sea Koala is going to go ahead and run over the Cyber Phoenix, which now has 0 attack, allowing Sheppard to draw a card. Speaking of advantage, Nimble Hamster is going to run over the Cyber Esper there, and before Big Koala can land its final attack, which would end the duel, with 3,500, we see Sheppard flip over the Scrap Fusion, that spell card that I was warning you guys about. He can only use it while there's no monsters on his field, and that's probably the second effect of limiter removal. If you weren't aware, limiter removal destroys the machine monsters that it affects at the end of the turn, guaranteeing he would have been able to use this at some point or another. Now, he can use Chumley's monsters and graveyard to summon one of Chumley's fusion monsters, banishing the big koala and death kangaroo that's in the graveyard, and stealing his Master of Oz to save him at the very last possible moment. What a phenomenal, beautifully executed comeback. He's gonna switch it into defense mode though, because he, I guess, couldn't get over the sea koala. I'm not entirely sure what the restriction here was. Maybe he's playing it safe against the 2 face downs. Regardless, even with the 800 point boost, big koala can't run over the Master of Oz, so it's not the worst strategy in the world. We're gonna see him not set a single monster, and he's gonna go ahead and pass his turn. And here we have another Ayers Rock Sunrise. Chumley played it face down before he activated the first one, that way this one wouldn't get discarded. And we're gonna see the face down Cyber Shadow Gardener. So Sheppard's on the ultimate defense here in terms of his opponent's abilities, at least. And we're also gonna see Wild Nature's Release. So this was a very, very good call here. Oh, okay, I see. Master of Oz is now down to 2,600 thanks to the effect of Ayers Rock Sunrise. So I don't know, maybe he predicted that another one was coming, because Chumley has won a lot of duels using 2 or 3 copies of that spell, so it only makes sense to want to play around it. Big Koala, gaining its 2,000 defense, now has 5,500 attack points, running over the Master of Oz, and with the trap card of the Phantom Beast allowing him to draw into a Nimble Momonga. However, since it got boosted, now Big Koala is destroyed and removed from the field, leaving Huffington with only the 1,200 attack Tree Otter as his strongest monster on the board. Going back over to Sheppard now, we're going to see him draw into the Polymerization like a fucking god, and fusion summon the Cyber Ogre 2. Again, these fusions at the last possible second are ridiculous. 2,600 on the board. He's going to go ahead and set a monster, run over the Sea Koala before it causes any other problems, and Chumley draws into just another Nimble monster, so he's going to be thinning his deck maybe just a little bit more. He has 14 cards left. Maybe he can draw into something really good here. The Hamster's going to set another Tree Otter. There's not a lot he can do here. It can give somebody 1,000 points, and that's about it. Then we're going to see Sheppard flip over his instant fusion that he drew in order to summon the Panzer Dragon so that it could pop something at the end phase, and it's going to get rid of the face-up Tree Otter there. So Chumley only has 1 left. He does draw into Ayers Rock Sunrise, but he can't activate it since he has no cards in his hand to throw away. He does have the Big Koala and the Master of Oz that he could bring back. So Sheppard's going to really want to play around that final copy of Ayers Rock, and then he can be in the clear. But with 2,200 against such an aggressive power play, how will he be able to do that? Well, the monster that he set earlier was actually the Morphing Jar. So when it gets flipped face up, both players lose their entire hand and draw 5 more cards. This not only gets rid of the card that he has no idea is in Chumley's hand, but it also lowers his deck count by a whole 5 cards, potentially giving him the option to win by a deck out. There's a couple of different ways it could be looked at here. Either way, he had nothing that he could really use, so it benefits him so much more than he realized until he sees that spell card in the grave. Then he also has the Pot of Greed to draw into 2 more, because why the fuck not? And he's going to normal summon the Proto Cyber Dragon. So now his name is Cyber Dragon. I see the Power Bond and the OG in the hand. I guess he decided not to do it just in case, because Power Bond will kill him this turn. Knowing what the monster was, he was able to run it over with Morphing Jar's 700 attack. Then we have Proto Cyber attempting to attack the face down, and he manages to succeed since he remembered that it was the Nimble Momonga. Chumley is going to gain 1,000 life points here, but thanks to Morphing Jar, it really fucked over Chumley here. He drew his 2 other copies, so he doesn't get one to summon to the field, and since they were both in his deck, he has no more level 3 monsters to bring out. So There we go. Off the top of my head, at least I should say. Chumley draws into Polymerization, which he does have the Death Kangaroo, but he doesn't draw into anything that can help him fuse with the Pot of Greed. Very, very unfortunate to see. He does summon the Death Kangaroo. He's just trolling with the Cyber Shadow, honestly, because it's not going to really accomplish anything here. Death Kangaroo is going to run over the Morphing Jar and use the Big March of Animals in order to give it an extra 200 points for 1,000 points of damage. If he had more beasts on his field, or if Chancellor Sheppard was one turn late to destroying all those monsters, that could have been game right then and there. But unfortunately, that's not how that happened. We're going to see the Super Rush recklessly activate to blow up Death Kangaroo and the Cyber Ogre too. But that's where we see Power Bond give us a 5,600 double attacking Cyber Twin Dragon, and he flips over his last face down, the Limiter Removal, to give it 11,200 attack points with 2 attacks, making a grand total of 22,000 points of damage, and Sheppard wins the duel.